Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Indiana Overtime. I'm Alex McCarthy with Inside Indiana, and I'm here with Sean Morrison. You might recognize him, formerly of Inside Indiana. Still covering IU though. And we're out here at Assembly Hall. You can see it a little bit in the background. After IU beat North Florida tonight, 89-68. Coming back to Assembly Hall again. It's the second straight game where IU's coming back home after a loss, second straight game where they win here. They still haven't lost at Assembly Hall. Noah Vonleh still has not. He has had a double-double in every game at Assembly Hall, so things are going well here, obviously, for IU. And tonight it was kind of what people expected. I mean, North Florida's a 500, I think, Conference USA, or I don't know exactly what team, and Indiana, and the game went like that, basically. I mean, IU started quickly, got a lead, they were up comfortably at halftime and kind of ran away with it in the second half. Evan Gordon came off the bench, scored a team-high 15 points. Sean, I guess what did you see from Gordon that, I wrote this a little bit on the board. It seemed like he's been quiet all year, even in his good performances. Tonight, he was a little bit loud.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it has to do with just hitting the open shots. He said that in the post-game that, it wasn't necessarily that he was taking more shots, that he was forcing the issue a little bit more. It was just one of those nights. They have a season high with 17 assists, and the offense would be flowing really, really well. And usually when you're in that kind of situation, a shooter is going to do a lot better. And he finally got those three-pointers to go down. He only had like a couple other jumpers other than that, though, and was really attacking the rim, getting out in transition. And it seemed like the whole team was going that way, but particularly him, having the season that he's had so far, I think this is a big stride for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it was kind of a testament to IU's ball movement to get him those open looks down low. Obviously, he's, 5'10", 5'11". Yeah. I mean, he's a small guy kind of out of the Yogi Ferrell small guard mold. And so it was, it was good for Indiana's offense to be able to make those shots down low for him. And yeah, really the thing that stood out overall as a team was the increased ball movement. I mean, a few nights ago, I guess, against Syracuse, at times it got a little stagnant. They, were stopped moving every once in a while. But tonight, they were just, from the opening tip, basically, they were just moving the ball. They were throwing it all over the place. Guys were constantly on the move, kind of forcing the North Florida defense to play back on their heels a little bit. And they got basically everybody involved. I mean, I think 8 guys played more than 10 minutes. 10 guys scored for Indiana. Just basically everybody got in on it tonight. I mean, the leading scorer was a bench player. And I mean, there were some standout performances, obviously, with Gordon, with Yogi Ferrell, with Jeremy Hollowell had a good night, but really this was a concerted team effort, basically. I mean, as cliche as that sounds. And, we talked a little bit about this before, that it seems like the drop-off between that first line and that second line is hardly anything, as young guys are getting more and more comfortable, which is a little bit different from last year's team, where I thought, the drop-off between, like, say, a Christian Wofford and a Jeremy Hollowell was huge, but the drop-off from, one of the starting guys this year to really most of the team this year is a lot less. I mean, we talked a little bit about differences, similarities between last year's team, this year's team in terms of depth. I mean, what have you seen differently there?
I think that it's just like you said, that there really isn't that much of a drop-off from that first guy to that second guy, even that third guy in some cases, depending on what position they're playing. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the versatility of this lineup. And there are a lot of guys that can play multiple positions. And you've also just got a lot more depth of talent, it seems. And, Jeremy Hollowell, Troy Williams, guys like that can kind of play the same spot and play it in different ways. And then you've got guys like Stan Robinson, who had a great game tonight. Really, I think his best performance of the season so far was 6 points, 8 rebounds. Was really active in that point guard role and coming in strong defensively. And you got guys like Evan Gordon now who are also able to put up those big numbers when they get a chance to, when they can get the flow of the game going. Pretty much everyone in this game in particular benefited from the fact that there was just kind of, a flow to the offense that was reminiscent of last year to some extent, it seemed like. And in saying that, it was a 52-35 margin at halftime. And, it wasn't pretty at all times. Green mentioned that it wasn't a complete 40-minute game. But at the same time, you got to look at the fact that this is a young group that really at times during the course of this game, they had a 14-0 run in the first half to really kind of pull away. They assisted on 4 of their first baskets, had 7 assists in the first 8 minutes. And this was a team that, coming into this game, didn't look to be sharing the ball very well. Didn't look like it was a good perimeter shooting team. and threw all of that aside, kind of going into this one and right out of the gate. So there were a lot of positives to take from this one, and for this team in particular going forward, it showed you just how well they can play when you bring that smarts, when you bring the basketball IQ into the whole picture of the athleticism that they have and the rebounding ability that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on this a little bit. A season high 17 assists and a season low, I think, 11 turnovers. And Crean said after the game that they made they kind of set a goal to have at least 17 assists, and they just got there. So that, I mean, if they keep, if they're able to continue to do that, I mean, that's going to be huge, because turnovers have been just killers for this team all season long. I mean, even in their wins, they've turned the ball over, way too much, letting teams kind of hang around a little bit more than maybe they would like to. And it starts, obviously with Yogi Ferrell. He had a season-high 7 assists for him, the most since January 12th of last season. So, he was not quite as efficient maybe as he would like. He was 5 for 13 from the field, but 7 assists and I think just 1 or 2 turnovers for Yogi Ferrell. 3 turnovers, I guess. But to see it kind of start with him is definitely a big positive for IU, because he's been maybe a little bit more of a scorer than a distributor this season. But that's basically the story of this game, was making those steps and pulling away from a team that that IU should have beaten fairly handily.
Should have beat them this way,
Right.
this way, but in doing so, the way that they beat them by the margin, I mean, you would expect the score line,
Right.
but you wouldn't have expected them to play the way that they did in this game compared to the way that they've played the last couple of games.
Right.
There were some serious strides made here that, you expect the score line, you don't expect them to look as, honestly, as much of a veteran team as they did at times. There were some really, really bright spots in here that I think Coach Green's going to be able to pull from going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And their next chance for that is going to be, I think, Tuesday night here again against Oakland at 7 p.m. Oakland has knocked off Ohio in the MAC, which is, I think Ohio is kind of the preseason favorite there. So pretty good team, good shooting team, I think, in Oakland. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be back out here. Obviously, the whole Inside Indiana crew is going to be out here to cover it, and we hope you'll keep reading our stuff and interact with us during games. But until then, I'm Alex McCarthy. Thanks again to Sean Morrison. Welcome back briefly to Inside Indiana
Briefly.
on overtime, and you guys have a good rest of your weekend.